there is no other option. Of course, everyone knows the Toronto Raptors have been playing their young players, adjusting the rotations to develop these young guys versus winning games. And of course, that has led to some criticism on the organization and specifically some criticism on Scottie Barnes with how he's been performing during the back half of the season. And we're going to discuss that a ton in this video because, of course, his stat line has not looked great over the last little while, and especially against this recent game against the Chicago Bulls. But one thing is for sure, and one thing that I think a lot of Toronto Raptors fans didn't really realize is there is no other option right now for what the Toronto Raptors are able to do given the current position they are in. So we're going to break down what's the reality of this Toronto Raptors team to close out this year, what's really going on with Scottie Barnes to close out the season, and some silver linings to this gray cloud that has been over the Toronto Raptors over the most recent game and back half of the season. So lots of stuff to break down in this video. But before we dive into that, folks, we are on Spotify. We are on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcast. So if you want to listen to Raptors Digest on your go, get the daily fix of everything Toronto Raptors and not have to worry about YouTube ads if you don't have premium or anything like that. Definitely check us out on Spotify and any other of these podcast platforms so you don't miss a single thing. But let's dive into it because frankly, and I may have lied to you folks, because the Toronto Raptors have come out and they got slapped by the Chicago Bulls, especially second half of this game was brutal. They lost 118 to 137, and the Bulls have played a lot better as of late. There was a moment in time where we thought the Chicago Bulls could be a team that's chasing the Toronto Raptors out there in the Tankathon standings, but of course, after dealing with Zach LaVine, they've quietly been very good to close out the season. THT, a long-time sought-after guy by the Toronto Raptors, he balled out in today's game. Kobe White, these different names, they all came out and played very, very well for the Chicago Bulls. All credit to them. But we're more worried about this Toronto Raptors team. And people have been saying, at this point, do we just win out the season, stop having things be so ugly? I know I got duped this morning by an April Fool's of Brandon Ingram returning. I thought, hey, the Toronto Raptors, they're going to actually be trying to win. Darko's going to be able to lock in, try out some sets, try out some stuff to carry some momentum into next season. But I don't think Toronto Raptors fans, myself, I don't think we realized how dire the situation is for this team to clinch that, at least not fall even further in the Tankathon standings. Because, of course, for a big chunk of the season, the Toronto Raptors were at the bottom 5 odds, which, of course, gives you a much more significant chance of being in the top 4 selections in the NBA draft. And that was a position we were in. Now, a few weeks ago, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets really put their foot on the gas, put their foot on the Tankathon gas pedal, and passed the Toronto Raptors, where we have no hope to really catch them now at this point in terms of the Tankathon standing. So that is what it is. But we looked at this and said, okay, the Raptors are well-suited, apt to be positioned for the 7th worst odds or 7th best odds in the NBA draft. So that's cool. That's all great. That's cool to see. But there's one team that has been hot on the Toronto Raptors' tail, and that is the San Antonio Spurs, who have lost 5 straight. And now you look at the Spurs, they got some good rosters, but of course, Victor Wembanyama's out, De'Aaron Fox is out. They have a lot of guys that are sitting here now at this point. So even still, it's like, okay, do we really expect the Spurs to lose every game to close out the season? Yes. I am of the opinion, after realizing what's going on right now, I am in the full opinion that the Spurs are going to lose the rest of the season because they play the Denver Nuggets, they play the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Portland Trailblazers could be the one interesting Tankathon game, but Portland has, as you could see, they've won at least one straight. They've been 5-5 in their last stretch of games, so they've been winning a little bit as of late, but with the exception of Portland, the Clippers are jockeying for playoff position. The Warriors are in that sort of spot. The Suns are in a bloodbath out there in the play-in sort of situation, and then they play us. And we know we have our limits. We have our floor in terms of what we're able to do for the tank for the mission to acquire Cooper Flag and everything like that. But the Spurs have been doing a very good job at out tanking people. So I am in full belief that there's a realistic possibility the Spurs lose out for the rest of the season. And now, what does that mean for the Toronto Raptors? Because they only have it's weird saying lead and stuff like that, but they have a 2.5, 3.5 game lead. Yeah, 3.5 gain cushion out there on the San Antonio Spurs. And this was a little bit bigger a few days ago, but again, the Raptors won a couple games. We've got a very easy schedule to close out the year. It's like, oh, okay, what's going on? What's happening now with the squad? But the Spurs are a team. If they lose out the Raptors, if they win a couple games, right, then they're going to get overtaken once again, another spot by the San Antonio Spurs. And the draft odds continue to just sink and sink and sink there at that point if that ends up being the case. We go from a 26% chance of being in the top four to, a 32% chance to 26%, which, again, we don't need to take more and more hits out there on the draft lottery odds. We've already taken a 10% dip from where we were like 3 weeks ago, and now we don't want to take another, 6% drop. So that is a big situation. And the Raptors, their schedule is very, very light to close out this year. So again, losing the Chicago Bulls, there's no real other option for this team right now. And probably losing the Blazers, losing to Detroit, because again, if we win 4 of these games, there's a legitimate chance that the San Antonio Spurs are going to pass us by losing losing out to finish out this season. So there's no real other option for the Toronto Raptors here right now. So it's a situation I didn't realize how close this could potentially come down to the wire. I mean, that last game of the season might be the most generational tank game of all time if the Toronto Raptors do pull out a couple of wins, but I'm just hopeful. I cannot wait to see root for the Toronto Raptors to, with all of my heart, to win every single game. So that is the current situation, but we just had a game happen. Not a lot of positives to super take away from. Jakob Poeltl has been playing very well over the past couple of weeks, which I do want to say. 17 points in this one, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, so that is a positive. Immanuel Quickley's been knocking down some shots. I mean, the stat lines aren't super overwhelming, but you look at the minutes per game, then you see why the Raptors fans are getting encouraged. 17 points, 9 assists. Positive stuff there from the Raptors backcourt in this one. Of course, Gradey Dick hasn't played a while. These games would be great for Gradey Dick to get some more development, more stuff happening. So that's been great to see. We got to see Cole Swider knock down a couple shots, so that's nice. Coming off the bench, getting some reps out there. Jonathan Moba filling up the stat. She has 6 and 3. The guy that also has impressed me, and he's been a little bit quieter in recent games. His minutes have been dwindled down a little bit, but AJ Lawson. Tonight's game, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 5 of 6 shooting from the field, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. I mean, he is making a real case to be on this team long-term, and I know it's been up and down, but as a role player out there, as a potential rotation guy, he's a player that I'd be intrigued to have in the team next season. But, other than that, no real positives. I mean, James Zabal didn't have the greatest game at the starting unit. Jakob Poeltl played 24 minutes, was solid, but Nikola Vucevic was really getting what he wanted the entire night. Jamal Shead didn't have the craziest of nights coming off the bench. But the one guy that is going to be in the brunt of discussions and the brunt of these conversations is Scottie Barnes, because frankly, he has been struggling significantly as of late. And that's the reality of what's going on here right now. I don't want to sugarcoat it, because I know there's people are either in the camp of like Scottie Barnes is the next Magic Johnson, like that caliber player, and then we have people in the camp of Scottie Barnes, a glorified role player that should not be paid that much money, should not be that this team built around. I feel like there's a lot less Raptors fans that have been followed in sort of the middle in regards to their Scottie Barnes analysis, and that's where I still am very, very bullish on Scottie Barnes. I still think he's going to be awesome and everything along those lines. But tonight, you can't come out and argue and talk around the fact that he has been not good. He has not been that great as of late. He's had some good games, of course. That Warriors game a couple weeks ago, or however long ago that was now at this point, was an awesome performance for him. But 9 points in this one, 4-14 shooting, 1 of 5 from the three-point line. The jump shot shooting is not improving. It is not going down. And that's, of course, a thing you really need to see from Scottie Barnes. Now, am I horrified? Am I like, oh, we gave all this money, we invested so much in a dude that's really struggling? I'm not sounding off alarm bells. This is a team that is overtly tanking. This is a team that, is running rotations that don't make a ton of sense. It's been a weird back half of the season for Scottie Barnes. So, we get into December next year and Scottie Barnes is still shooting, below 30% from behind the three-point line and not being super effective around the field. Then that's when my concerns will start to percolate, will start to raise, and more things like that. But I won't sit here and be like, oh, everything is great and cheery regarding Scottie Barnes and it's perfect, because of course we'd much rather be able to say, hey, even though the Raptors are losing, even though they're running these rotations, even though they're doing these types of things, Scottie Barnes looks like a guy that's a star amongst boys, man amongst boys for this Raptors team. That's what we'd like to say with Scottie Barnes, but really he's been No, not the Toronto Raptors' best player out there on the court night in, night out. There's been other guys stepping up, playing it better than they've been these specific games, and that's not ideal. Like, you look at a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander when the Oklahoma City Thunder were losing games. He was a bona fide, like, rising star in every single one of those games, it felt like. Of course, everyone has hot and cold nights, but Shai in those tanking seasons was really just exciting people for what he's about to become. And Scottie Barnes, even though the flashes are still there, like, he doesn't look washed, he doesn't look anything like cooked by any means. The flashes just haven't been there as much as I'd like to see him. Of course, he still is a good defender. This season, he has improved on defense. He's still a great passer, but especially in regards to the biggest question regarding Scottie Barnes, jump shooting hasn't been that consistent, hasn't taken that leap. That is concerning in my eye watching these games. So let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section down below. You guys, the best thing is first, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Man, you want to check out the Spotify, listen on the go. Check us out there. But you guys, the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.